I want you to imagine something. You got 2 workouts in this week. You wanted 3. So how many workouts are you thinking about? Obviously, the one you missed. You cooked dinner instead of ordering something, but it wasn't exactly what you had planned to eat. So what are you thinking about? The thing that wasn't perfect. You were doing really well. And then on Saturday, you were doing really well. And then Saturday happened. Kids had something going on. You ate differently. Maybe you even had pizza. And by Sunday night, you're lying in bed thinking, all right, Monday, I need to get back on track. Back on track from what exactly? Because I'm starting to think a lot of people aren't nearly as far off track as they think they actually are. They've just created a definition of on track that their actual life can almost never satisfy. And I want to talk about that today. Welcome back to the Built to Grow podcast. I've had a bunch of client conversations lately that keep circling around the same idea. And one conversation last week really stopped me. So I'm obviously going to keep her anonymous and I'm going to change some of the details, but she's a mom. She's working. She's managing kids, pickups, activities, birthday parties, meals, laundry, groceries, all the normal shit that doesn't look particularly remarkable until you realize that somebody had to actually coordinate all of it. And she's trying to take care of herself in the middle of all of that. We were talking about nutrition. And she kept describing this feeling that she wasn't really doing what she was supposed to be doing. So we looked at the actual evidence. And there was this moment where it basically became, okay, I cooked the chicken, but the barbecue sauce has sugar in it. And I remember thinking to myself, there it is. There's the entire problem. It's not the barbecue sauce. It's the but. I did this, but I went to the gym, but I drank my water, but I cooked dinner, but I lost weight, but I got stronger, but there was always this one tiny piece of evidence available to make the rest of the effort somehow not count. And if you do that long enough, you can make a tremendous amount of progress and emotionally almost experience none of it. I think a lot of women are unknowingly comparing themselves to someone who, quite frankly, doesn't exist. She's fucking incredible, by the way. Let me explain her to you. She sleeps for 8 hours, wakes up before the kids, drinks her water, meal preps on a Sunday, never forgets the groceries, gets all 3 workouts in, hits her steps, eats enough protein, gets enough fiber, doesn't get stressed, and her children apparently are never sick. Nobody unexpectedly needs to be driven anywhere at a moment's notice. Work never gets crazy. She has no birthday parties, no vacations, no hormonal issues, no exhaustion, no Tuesday where everybody decides to lose their minds all at the same time. What a woman. I'd love to meet her, but she doesn't exist. Somehow, that is the woman that you're using to decide whether or not you're doing well. And then the real you shows up. Got 5 hours of sleep because somebody woke you up. Real you worked all day. Real you had somebody to pick up. Real you forgot to defrost the chicken, or your husband forgot to do it again. Real you got 25 minutes instead of an hour at the gym. And real you still did something. But because it didn't look like the imaginary you's version, you called it failure. And that's an unbelievably unfair game to play with yourself. During that same conversation, we started talking about her kids. And this is where it became really obvious. Imagine your kid comes home with an 85% on a test. They worked hard, they studied, they improved. Would you look at the paper and say to them, cool, where's the other 15%? Probably not. You'd recognize their effort. You'd recognize the context. You'd recognize the improvement. You might even say, I'm proud of you. And that does not mean that you're telling them, never improve again. 85 forever. We've peaked. Of course not. You can celebrate an 85 and still work towards 90. Those ideas are not in conflict. But then we evaluate ourselves and suddenly the rules change. 2 workouts instead of 3. Missed 1. 5 solid meals and 1 unplanned meal. Blew it. Lost 5 pounds, but won 10. Not there yet. Walked for 20 minutes, but planned 45. Didn't really count. At some point, I want you to ask, when does anything get to count? Because if every accomplishment immediately becomes evidence of how much farther you still have to go, you will never arrive anywhere emotionally. The finish line will keep moving every time you get close to it. And this is where coaching gets really interesting to me. Because if you came to me saying, Santo, I just need more discipline, I could take you at your word. Cool. More discipline. Got it. More accountability. No sweat. More structure. Perfect. More rules. I got you. But what if that's not actually the problem? What if you're already trying really fucking hard? What if you're already doing significantly more than you give yourself credit for? And what if the thing making you feel unsuccessful isn't your behavior, but instead how you're interpreting your behavior? That's a completely different problem. Because I can give you the world's greatest nutrition plan, write you the most beautiful workouts. I can tell you exactly how much water to drink. But if your brain takes 85% and immediately asks about the missing 15, you're going to bring that feeling of failure into every plan that I give you. That's why I'm increasingly less interested in simply asking, did you follow the plan? I want to know what happened when life made following the plan difficult, because that's your actual life. That's the real you. Anyone can follow a health plan on a perfect week. But I'm much more interested in what happens at 5:47 on a Tuesday evening. You're tired. One kid has to be somewhere. Someone else needs dinner. You forgot something at the grocery store. One of the kids is having a meltdown. Of course, you haven't worked out, and the beautiful meal you imagine making tonight is not fucking happening. So what happens now? Because this is where people tend to think they only have two choices: either do it perfectly or fuck it. And I want to give you a third option today. That third option is to do the next reasonable thing. Can't do the hour workout, do 25 minutes. Can't make the meal you plan. What's the next best reasonable option available? Didn't prep lunch? Fine. What can we grab that gets us reasonably close? Had pizza with your kids? Great. Enjoy the pizza. Your next meal is still just your next meal. No punishment, no starting over, no trying to compensate. Just continue. That's what I actually want to teach people. Not how to become perfect at health, how to stop requiring perfection in order to remain consistent. So here's something I want you to try this week. Instead of constantly asking, what did I mess up? Ask, what evidence do I have that I'm becoming someone who takes care of herself? And I mean like actual evidence. I went for the walk even though I only had 20 minutes. That's evidence. I made breakfast for myself today instead of surviving on coffee. That's evidence. I trained twice during a chaotic week. Evidence. I ordered takeout and chose something that made me feel good afterwards. Evidence. I didn't turn dessert into a 3-day guilt spiral. That's a big one. Also evidence. I was exhausted and decided that sleep was going to be more valuable to me than forcing another workout for myself. Evidence. I had a shitty day, and instead of deciding I was back at square one, I woke up the next morning and continued. This is fucking evidence, because that's how identity actually changes. Not through one perfect month, through hundreds of tiny pieces of evidence that eventually become difficult to argue with, until one day you're not constantly trying to become someone who takes care of herself. You realize, shit, I already do. And I think there's something really emotional underneath all of this. Imagine working your ass off for years and barely ever letting yourself feel proud of your accomplishments. Imagine changing your body. Your habits are changing. Your strength is changing. Your relationship with food is also changing. Your ability to handle difficult weeks is also changing. And every time something improves, your brain immediately finds the next thing that's wrong. That sounds exhausting. And I don't think the answer is abandoning ambition. I love ambition. I'm all for it. I want you to want things. Get stronger. Change your body if it's what you want to do. Run the race, lift the weight, improve your nutrition, have goals, go after them. But wanting tomorrow to be better does not require you to make today inadequate. Those are not the same thing. You can look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm proud of how far I've come, and immediately follow it with, and I'm excited to see how far I can go. That's growth. So if you've spent the last few weeks feeling like you're behind, I want you to do something before you create another plan that doubles down on discipline. Before you cut more food, before you add another workout, before you decide Monday is the day that you're finally going to get your shit together. Look at the evidence. Look at what you're already doing differently from 6 months ago. Look at the decisions that you make now that used to be difficult for you. Look at what your body can do now. Look at what you've learned. Look at what you've came back from, which, by the way, going backwards in something or taking a step back, however you want to frame it, would imply that there's some sort of progress there. Look at the days where life didn't really cooperate and you found a way to do something anyway. Maybe you don't need another fresh start. Maybe you're already in the middle of becoming the person you've been trying so hard to become. And maybe, just maybe, you've just been busy looking at the missing 15% to notice it. So yes, keep going, keep growing, keep asking more of yourself when more is appropriate. But this week, let some of it count. You can want more for yourself without making everything you've already done feel like it wasn't enough. And sometimes the next step isn't just trying harder. Sometimes it's finally recognizing that you're already moving. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to give it a 5-star review. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. I'll talk to you next week.